It's a pleasure to have you join us on another episode of the program. I'm Okpayemi Owosheni. We start off with business news. Nigeria is currently grappling with a severe fuel scarcity, which is disrupting economic activities and causing significant inconvenience to citizens. Across various states, long queues are formed at filling stations as Nigerians struggle to buy the commodity for their day-to-day activities. This next report has details of the situation in Lagos State. For about a week now, fuel queues have resurfaced at filling stations across Lagos as motorists struggle to purchase petrol. Black marketers are already capitalizing on the situation to make bricks business, selling for as high as prices of 1,000 naira to 1,200 naira per litre to frustrated motorists. I'm at the filling station in Maryland. The queue is quite long, as you can see. People are queuing to buy fuel, which is quite scarce at the moment. The Independent Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has disclosed that this fuel scarcity might last for 2 weeks before it is addressed. This revelation underscores the challenges being faced by motorists, commuters, and business reliant on fuel for their day-to-day activities. People are asking questions and have called on the government to find a lasting solution to this issue.
I've spent a lot of money to Friday and today because I was buying fuel. I see there's a home filling station at what they call it, Muibafu. They are selling it 102. That's 1,200 a litre. I don't know what is happening in this country, even though it's tiring me. Look at the way I'm stressed since morning now. I'm on queue, looking for a fuel. I want to hustle. I don't know.
It's affecting me in so many ways because I have so many things that I'm supposed to be doing since morning. But actually, I've been on queue since around 7 a.m. in the morning. See the time I'm entering the filling station now. It's part of what is affecting me for my day right now.
It's not easy. Not easy at all. It's not easy at all. Like this one now, I've been on this queue since 9 o'clock. And this is past 12. It's past 12. So it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's affecting our business too much. I will be on the queue something around 5:30 a.m. Now I just want to buy fuel now. I never buy it. The only thing that I will tell also people of Nigeria, I want to help us to do this thing because all of us we are tired.
While commercial drivers say there hasn't been a hike in transportation fare, some commuters say fares have gone up on some routes.
Honestly, I've actually been shuttling it because sometimes I'll have to leave my car at home because fueling the car is more expensive for me. So when I'm actually going for a meeting or I have important outing to do, I'll go with my car. But publicly, using the public car, it's always stressful, and now the cost of transportation is high now. Formerly I was spending like maybe 300 naira from my place to the office, but now I have to spend like 600, 700.
I'm coming from VI now, but from office they gave me 5,000. They don't even reach me to stay rich here now. See, I'm trekking from here to VI, come back. I'm trekking now to another bus before I pick another bus. From here to VI, come back, 5,000 is not enough.
The scarcity has also affected businesses, with some saying it's become a burden.
It's only this place. They sell fuel. This frustration is too much, yo. More help us. We can't take it anymore. It's too much. More help us.
I just want government to let us be sell. They should sell the fuel normal. You should be seeing fuel normal. Queue like this is too much for us. The stress is too much for us. Let the government to maybe the fuel want to come down. Let us know. If the fuel want to increase, let know.
Petrol marketers have blamed the fuel scarcity across the country on a supply challenge from the NNPC Limited, but they say efforts are ongoing to solve the problem. Okpayemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Lagos. The federal government says it will stop granting licenses to gas companies with no capacity to build pipelines for gas distribution. This, the government said, became necessary to discourage the transportation of compressed natural gas through the roads. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Ekpo, made his disclosure in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, when he visited Abeokuta for the on-spot assessment of the CNG explosion at Itaoshi. A CNG gas truck owned by Gasco Marine had suffered a brake failure, rammed into the road barricade and went up in flames, killing one person and raising some vehicles. While saying the country must transit from fossil fuel to CNG, Ekpo revealed that he had directed the chief executive of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, not to issue licenses to anyone who could not pipe CNG to the end users. We'll go on a break now and be back with company news.
Corruption not in my country.
Now, yeah.
Yes, Oga.
Okay.
Where I go come find 300 naira change?
I better try look for change now. When they do business. Hey, Timmy. Ade, bro. I be. I beg, give me 200 naira. Make I take sort out this guy. If let's say no get change.
Take it, give us.
I said 200.
Give her 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree to pay 200.
How much you think they carry people from that place we carry on the chair?
Oga.
No, they touch me.
Now 100 naira. He agreed to pay.
Because that was what you said was the fair. Why you not go pay you? Why you they extort your customer? You see this corruption, what would they hear for news? They see for people everywhere. Now be this so. This is corruption, not in our country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back. Nigerian lender First City Monument Bank is planning to raise an additional 150 billion naira through the issuance of new securities. FCMB currently has 125.29 billion naira, and based on its unaudited full year 2023 financial results, will need over 370 billion naira to meet up to the 500 billion naira mark as they also operate internationally. FCMB's plan to raise an additional 150 billion naira to issuance of securities comprising ordinary shares, preference shares, would suggest that it is opting to downgrade its license from international to national. The move to raise fresh capital comes as the Central Bank of Nigeria announced in March a tenfold jump in minimum capital requirement for bank, nearly 2 decades since the last exercise. The minimum capital requirement was raised to 500 billion naira for those with international authorization, 200 billion naira for commercial banks with international authorization, and 50 billion naira for those with regional authorization. The Board of Directors of Lafarge Africa PLC has announced the appointment of Gbenga Oyebode as the chairman of the company. According to the company's notice to the Nigerian Exchange Limited, Oyebode will succeed Adebode Adefioye as chairman effective 27th April 2024. Lafarge Africa disclosed that Adebode Adefioye has notified the Board of Directors and shareholders at the annual general meeting held on 26 April 2024 of his decision to retire voluntarily as chairman and also step down as a member of the board at the conclusion of the 2024 annual general meeting. According to the statement signed by Adewumi Alode, the legal director and company secretary, Oyebode is the chairman of the Nominations, Governance and Remuneration Committee, a member of the Risk Management and Ethics Committee, and a member of the Finance and Strategy Committee of Lafarge Africa PLC. He has over 42 years of experience in legal, corporate governance, and business operations, having graduated from the University of Ife and the University of Philadelphia. We'll go on a break now, but when Money Matter returns, we'll be discussing CBN's disclosure that Nigerians are holding onto cash at an unprecedented rate with a staggering 94% of the currency outside the banking system. I'll bring you details of this after this break.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that Nigerians are holding onto cash at an unprecedented rate with a staggering 94% of the currency outside the banking system. The Apex Bank disclosed this in its March 2024 Money and Statistics data. The figure paints a concerning picture of the declining trust in the banking system and potential risks to the nation's economic growth. According to the data on the CBN's website, the amount of physical money in circulation has skyrocketed compared to the previous year, that's 2023. In January 2024, it stood at 3.65 trillion naira, more than double the 1.3 trillion naira recorded in January 2023. This trend continued throughout the quarter, with March 2024 reaching 3.87 trillion, a 130% increase from the previous year. This significant rise suggests that CBN has pumped more cash into the system, likely in response to the scarcity issues plaguing 2023. This behavior can be traced back to the severe cash scarcity crisis experienced in 2023 during the Naira design. The CBN's flawed implementation of a Naira design policy intended to promote a cashless economy and combat crime resulted in widespread disruption and a loss of trust in banks. Now, joining me to discuss this further is financial analyst Kalu Aja. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Aja. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that Nigerians are holding onto cash at an unprecedented rate with a staggering 94% of the currency outside the banking system. Can you provide insight into why Nigerians might be holding onto cash at such an unprecedented rate with 94% of the currency outside the banking system?
Yeah, I think it's two things, right? Number one, there's a lot of cash now printed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So that's the one thing, that there has to be cash for that cash to be held outside the system. So we've seen an increase in M1, even M2 from the Central Bank of Nigeria. So there's much more liquidity in the system. Number two, you remember last year we had the currency redesign. And with the back and forth of currency redesign, the failure of the online banking and the money transfers, so lots of Nigerians got spooked. So people are keeping just emergency cash in real cash at home, just in case they have to spend money and that transfer doesn't work or the bank transfer is bad on that day. So you've seen those two factors drive the increase in cash outside the system. Keep in mind, cash outside the system has always been high. This is just abnormally high, I believe, because of what happened in 2023 December when we had the Naira redesign and, of course, the change of the colors and all that kind of stuff. So people are still spooked, but I think it will tamper down a bit as we get along in the year.
You just mentioned the Naira design that happened in 2023. Now, considering the severe cash scarcity crisis experienced in 2023, stemming from the flawed implementation of the Naira redesign policy, how might this impact the current situation of cash hoarding in the country at the moment?
It's just people are worried that if they need cash tomorrow, they might not have the cash. It's just should we say, a lagging effect from the experience I had in December. That's really it. Historically, we've always had cash in circulation outside the banks. The Nigerians really don't do a lot of quote-unquote banking. They get paid in the banks, they withdraw the money from the banks, and then they spend it. Very, very few loans are gotten from Nigerian banks per se. So you are seeing just the acceleration of that, should we say, that precedence. This is just unusual. I think as we go down into the year, you see more of online banking, more of bank transfers, more of POS. Those numbers are going up, which shows Nigerians are coming back to the banks, right? But again, it's a cash economy. You go to the ATMs in banks, you don't see cash at the ATMs. You see maybe 1 out of 5 ATM banks working. So people are still worried that if they need cash, they might not get cash. And that's what's driving this. I'm going to keep cash at home just in case I need it. It's just unusual, more or less. I wouldn't say that's going to be a trend that we'll see happen, say 2025 per se, yeah.
How significant is the decline in trust in the banking system, as indicated by the skyrocketing amount of physical money in circulation?
I wouldn't say there's been a lack of trust. I would say there's been a lack of maybe the online. Folks had been trying to use mobile money and bank transfers. It was a growing segment in Nigerian banking offerings. It didn't work in December, in November, in January. It failed. So I think it's an issue of technology and capacity. Maybe folks don't trust that capacity issue in the banks has been solved. That's where I think it is really, that the IT infrastructure, not just of the Nigerian banks, the telcos, the power generation, all that is leading to the fall in a trust in digital and money banking. That's where I think the real issue. I don't think it's the banks per se, but the banks do use telcos, the banks do use power, and those two infrastructure have not performed as they should have. In terms of trust in the banks, Nigerian banks do have very, very high customer service. They're able to get back to customers when customers do complain. One of the few institutions that do customer service top level. It's not perfect, but Nigerian banks do place a big premium on customer service. So I'm not going to be sure to say it's a banking thing. It's more or less of a Nigerian infrastructure deficit thing, more or less, yeah.
So, Mr. Kalu, I would like to know what are the potential risks to Nigeria's economic growth as posed by this trend of cash hoarding?
Well, if you don't have cash in the banks, then you don't have cash for long-term financing. If you don't put money in the banks, then the banks don't have that cash to create risk assets to lend to the SMEs and to the multinationals, right? So you have to have that savings rate growing your economy, because savings then create the investments, the long-term investable funds that the financial sector needs. That's the biggest risk, that if you're keeping money outside the banks, that money is not in the formal, should we say, financial sector. And of course, it cannot be called upon to be lent out. The other issue is that inflation, monetary policy that is designed to fight inflation is no longer effective. Because if you raise monetary rates and the cash is outside the banks, then it has very, very limited effect. So you have, number one, there's no cash to lend out to SMEs. And number two, your monetary policies are weak because most of the cash is outside the bank. So if you raise rates, it doesn't affect the cash outside the banks. Those are going to be the two major risks they're going to have with this policy.
The data from the CBN shows a dramatic increase in physical money circulation, particularly in comparison to 2023. And what factors might have contributed to this surge?
I mean, we printed tons of cash. We printed about 23 trillion. And the bulk of that printing was done at the later years, 2022, 2023, right? So that's a big, big factor we can't ignore. That's the elephant in the room. Cash was printed. A lot of cash was printed for the intervention policies of the central bank back then. And you are seeing the effect of that cash now in the system. So we shouldn't be really surprised about that. It's an unprecedented monetary expansion in Nigeria, and all that we're seeing now is just the effect of that monetary expansion. That's really it. If we take away that money, the 23 trillion that was printed, then we wouldn't be really in this situation. Yeah.
Now, do you think the CBN's response to pumping more cash into the system is an effective strategy to address the scarcity issues, or does it pose further risks to the economy?
Well, I think the CBN has tried now to reduce the amount of cash by raising the monetary policy rate. So what they've done is that they've increased interest rates in the economy to bring down the cash in supply. That's what they're basically doing right now. So even though they've pumped cash in the past, this CBN has raised monetary policy rates to reduce the amount of cash in circulation. So we're just seeing that pass-through effect. So the rates have gone up. The effects are just going to take place slowly. But this particular CBN has raised rates that the past CBN was reluctant to do. So I would say in this instance, perhaps the CBN is actually addressing the monetary expansion and not contributing in touch. Although we've seen ways and means in this CBN, we've also seen them raise rates aggressively to fight the increase in monetary policy, yeah. Increase in monetary rates, I mean, yeah.
Just before I let you go, I would like to know how this trend of cash hoarding might affect financial inclusion efforts and the promotion of a cashless economy in Nigeria.
It would hurt it. The whole idea of financial inclusion is that you don't want to have cash out of the system. You want the money to be in the formal financial sector where it can be recorded, it can be lent out, and it can be tracked. And of course, monetary policy can apply to it. If you have cash out of the system, then you do not have the means to then allow monetary policies to take effect. So that's the big problem. It's if we don't have formal banking, we can't have formal monetary controls of the economy. And of course, Nigeria's economy cannot flow at full flight. So big problem there. We've got to get the cash back in, not just in banks, even in the non-banking financial sector, the fintechs, all those guys, the mortgage bank, the community banks, all that is still the formal banking. So it's not just getting the money into banks, it's getting the money into the formal financial sector. That's really what we have to target. If we don't get it in, then the policies that the CBN is passing and even the fiscal policies will not have the intended effect up to the maximum. It will be suboptimal because most of the funds are outside the formal financial sector.
Well, financial analyst Kalu Aja, thank you for lending your thoughts on the program. That's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for watching. I am Okpayemi Owosheni. See you next time.